Hello and welcome to Learn with Indrjeet. This is another video in the series of videos titled Building a To-Do Management System Application in the latest .NET 8 framework from Microsoft. In the previous video, we corrected the date-time formats throughout the application and we implemented a functionality to store UTC dates in the database, and while showing it to the user, we converted them to the local format. Along with that, we implemented the due today, completed and important pages. If you haven't watched that video, please go ahead and watch that too. Starting from this video, we are going to implement identity for authentication and authorization. So this is part 1 of that. In this video, we'll be creating identity related tables, DTOs, view models, authentication service and authentication controller with register endpoint in that. Okay, so first we'll be focusing on registering the user. This video is going to be very informative. Please watch it till end, and if you find it useful, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do that, and also hit that notification bell so you never miss out on latest content. So let's get started. So to implement identity for authentication and authorization in the current application, let me show you a simple method to have identity related tables in our current database. Okay, so in a new instance of Visual Studio, let's go to create a new project. It would be a Razor Pages application. Let's name it as Auth web app. It can be any name, and let's set authentication type to individual accounts and create that application. Now when we run this application will use this migration to create ASP identity related tables in the database that is configured in the default connection string. Okay, so if we specify the default connection to be our applications database, which is this one, what it will do is it will go ahead and create those identity tables in our database. Okay, so this is the simplest method to create identity tables in any of the existing database if you are following a database first approach. Another way can be that you have a script ready for the identity tables and then you run that script on the required database. That's fine, but I prefer this approach. So let's start this application and apply migrations to have the identity related tables in our database. Okay, so if we try to register a new user, say test user at gmail1@gmail.com, let me specify a password for that and click register. What it will do is it will connect to the database and try creating the tables. So it says the ASP.NET users table is not found. Try apply the migrations. So let's apply migrations and now try refreshing the page. So continue. Let's go to the database at this time, refresh that, and the tables, now we have all the tables that are related to identity. Okay, so here we have our test user. The only thing is that this user cannot log in into the system as yet because email confirmed is false. So here it is saying that the app does not currently have a real email sender. So click here to confirm your email account. So click here. Let's go to the database, refresh it, and see the email confirmed is now set to true. And now we should be able to log in using the same the test user 1. And log in. See, this was because let me show you one thing in the program.cs where we are adding the add default identity. We are specifying that the sign in, while signing in, we require a confirmed account. The email account that is there should be confirmed, right? So there has to be a system that when a user is registered into the system sends a confirmation email and the user confirms that, okay? Then only the user will be able to log into the system. So this is the simplest way to create identity tables in your existing projects. Let's stop this and let's in fact close the solution. Close it. Thank you very much. And let's delete this table underscore EF migrations history. We won't be requiring that. So let's delete this. And in the ASP.NET users, we will be registering users. And to do that, let's go ahead and first of all, let's look out for any updates of the packages that we have in the solution. So we'll update any, if there are any updates available, then we'll be yes. So let's update all. Then we will be updating including those packages for identity. So let it complete updating the current packages. Okay. Now let's go ahead to the application project and add identity related packages in here. So let me see if we have those on the clipboard. Yes, here we have. So we are trying to install Microsoft extensions.identity.core, Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework, and ASP.NET Core Authentication JWT Bearer. So click Save, and yeah, these are installed. Okay, so build and rebuild. Okay, let it finish. Okay, so fine. Now in the DTOs, let's add a application user. So add new item, application user, and it will inherit from the identity user. Okay, so let me see if I have that too on the clipboard. Yes. So the application user that we'll use in the application is inheriting from identity user. Let me take you there. So this identity user is having all the properties such as username, normalized username, email, normalized email, email confirmed, all the properties that are there in this table. So username, normalized username, email, normalized email, email confirmed, and all the properties of this table are there in the identity user apart from these two. So when we want to have custom properties in the application user, we want to just go ahead and add those properties to the table, because we are using a database first approach. So I want to have a property for common name like the nickname, maybe 64, and a profile image property for storing the profile image of the user to be shown in the front end application, maybe 128 long. Save that, and these properties we can include in our custom application user that is inheriting from identity user. So save this, and because we are in the DTOs folder, let's create another class for registering a user. So register DTO, add that, and let's search for it on the clipboard. So if we have a register DTO, yes, okay. So the register DTO is having some of the properties like username, password. When the user registers, we want these properties: the email, phone number, the name, profile image, and the role, right? So maybe we would not be asking role from the user, we'll be specifying it internally. That's fine, right? So now we have the app settings. Let's specify some of the settings for JWT. We're going to implement JWT along with refresh token in the application. So the scenario will be, in the API controller, in the API there will be a controller named as Auth controller. This controller will have a register endpoint. That endpoint will accept a model DTO, a register DTO as the model DTO, and will call a function on the service here called Auth service. This Auth service will use the user manager of the identity core to create a user, okay, in the database, and if the user is created successfully, it will return a JWT token view model. Okay, so let's create first of all, let's create a view model for JWT token. So add a new item, let's name it JWT token VM. Yes, and let's see if we have that here. Okay, so this is the JWT token VM with only 3 properties. One is the JWT token itself, refresh token, and error. If there are any error while registering or logging in the user, will send the error. Okay, let's remove all these, save. Now next is, in the app settings.json file, we want to have some properties of JWT tokens that we want to control from app settings. Okay, so let me just take those here. So JWT settings is the name of the section. We have a signing key, which is a 64 alphanumeric and special characters. Issuer is our API address. So this is the address of the API. Audience is the front end application that will consume the JWT token. Access token expiry minutes is set to 30. The JWT token will expire in 30 minutes, and the refresh token will expire in 300 minutes, that is 5 hours. right? So we'll use these properties to map to a class, and then we'll use that class while configuring the JWT section, okay, in the program.cs file. So let's create a class out of this JSON, and the simplest way to do that is just copy this object like so, and let's create another folder over here for, sorry, not an item, I want to create a folder and name it as app settings, and inside this folder let's create a class called JWT settings like this, and let's set it as a public class. And now let's go to edit and paste special to paste the copied JSON as a class. See, and now because this class is named as root object, let's delete these 3 lines, and we have our JWT settings class ready. Okay, save that. So now, as we discussed, we must have a service called auth service. So let's create an interface for that. Right click, add a new item called auth service, and it will have only one method to register the user. So let's see if we have that. So I think this one, yes. So let me just remove these. So it says there is only one method which takes a register DTO as the input and returns the JWT token view model as the output. Okay, save that, and let's create a service implementing this interface. So auth service public implementing auth service like that, and let's implement the interface. So this is the auth service. Let me just take you step by step through each line. Okay, see, so this is the auth service. We are injecting the user manager as well as JWT settings into the constructor, and then we have our register function. Okay, so this register function takes the register DTO as a parameter. First of all, we are initiating the JWT token view model. Then we are checking if the incoming register DTO is null. We are saying invalid input in the error of the JWT token view model. If the username is not there, we are setting an error to be username is required. If the password is missing, we are saying password is required. Next, we are going to the database using the user manager to find if there is a user already in the system with the same username. Okay, so if the existing user is not null, we are returning an error saying user already exists. Otherwise, we are creating a new user. So from register DTO, we are taking all the properties, this like username, setting it to the username, the name, email, and we are by default here setting email confirm to true, then the phone number, and we are setting phone number confirm to true, and then the profile image. So here one thing, if the profile image is by chance null, we want to set it to some default value, some default image name for the user. So this will be for the users that have not yet uploaded their image to the system. So let's put that thing. So string dot is null or empty if this image name is empty, then we want to set it to a default image dot jpg, else we want to set it to whatever the image name is coming. Okay, so if the profile image is null, we are initializing it to a default value, otherwise we are sending the actual value. Okay, fine. Now next is we are trying to create the user in the database with the user and the password specified. As of now we are passing password to the system in a like plain text format. That should not be the case in a production application, so it should be encrypted and all, but this application we are creating for learning purposes, so that's fine. So identity result has two values, two properties. One is the errors, so we are checking if there are errors, we are joining the errors as a comma separated string and returning it into the JWT token view model. And if the identity result is failed, like if the succeeded value is false, we are saying user registration failed. Okay, next is we are generating the claims identity. Let's say generate claims identity, and then use this claims identity to generate the access token, the JWT token. And then we want to like generate a refresh token also, but that will be implemented later, so let's leave it like that. I want to focus on these two, the generate claims identity and how we generate the JWT token. Okay, so let's go to this function first. See, it takes the new user, the application user, as a input, and how we are generating claims identity is we are returning a new claims identity out of the new generic identity. Okay, with the username, the token, and the claims. So basically we are generating claims in this function, right? And the claims is a list of claims that contains number one, the user ID, the username, email, phone number, image, and two more properties that are registered claim names. One is the JWT identity, which is a GUID, and issued at. So this property issued at is a Unix epoch date string, right? And we are getting this from, first of all, we are getting the seconds from Unix epoch. Unix epoch is the midnight of 1st January of 1970. So what we are doing here is from UTC date we are subtracting the Unix epoch date and counting the total seconds of this difference. Okay, so these are the total seconds. Then we are converting those total seconds to a long data type and then to string. Okay, and then we are using this string here to set the issued at. Okay, so as a result we have this list of claims, and we are using these claims to generate a claims identity and returning it back here. And this claims identity will now be used to generate the access token. So let's go there. So when we have a claims identity, we need to pass those claims to this constructor. And what this constructor does is it takes a few inputs like the issuer, the audience, the claims, not before, expires, and signing credentials to create a JWT token. Okay, so this is where we are passing the JWT issuer, the audience, the claims that we just created. datetime.utc now is the not before date. Okay, and this one is for the expires date. Okay, so for expiry date we are getting the access token expiry minutes from the app settings and setting the date here. Next we are passing in the signing credentials. The signing credentials are created with this constructor. We are generating a symmetric security key out of the bytes taken from the signing key that we defined in the app settings earlier, this one. Okay, and then we are specifying the algorithm to be hmaxshaw 512, and then we are this guy is writing the token and then returning it. So this is write token. It says serializes a JWT security token into a JWT in compact serialization format. Okay, so this is how these two functions are being used to generate the JWT token that we are going to pass in the JWT token view model to the calling function in the controller. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that controller too. So let's add a new controller. Let's add a API controller empty, add sorry, and let's name it as auth controller. Okay, so add, and let me just take the controller from the clipboard. I think I have one, this one, yes. Okay, so let me just remove this guy and take you through each line, although we have only one function here. So in here, in this controller, we are simply injecting the Auth service in the constructor, and we are using the register function that we just created in here. So this controller will get a register DTO as an input. We are checking if that is null, we are returning a bad request saying registration failed, invalid input. Otherwise we are checking for model state errors. If there are errors, we are getting those errors and putting them in a string and sending them in the response, right? And if everything is okay, we are calling the register function in the auth service to get the JWT token view model. containing the JWT token, and we're checking if this is null or the JWT token is empty, then we are returning a bad request. Otherwise we are returning 200 OK, right? So up till now we have specified the JWT settings. We have created a application user, then we created a registered DTO, JWT token VM, then we created a class to match with these settings so that we can fetch these settings using iOptions pattern in the program.cs class in the web API that we'll do in the next video. Then we implemented the authentication service with only one method, implemented that method to create and send the JWT token view model along with the JWT token. For the time being, we are sending a empty refresh token. We'll do the refresh token part in another video. And then we created a controller having the register endpoint. So let's build the application as of now and see the Swagger UI for this endpoint. Okay. Okay, so the Swagger UI now have the Auth controller and the register endpoint, where if we try that out, we'll have to pass the username. So let's say test user 2@gmail.com, then the password as abcd#123. Let's copy this guy for the email. Okay, phone number, any phone number. The name will be test user number 2. Profile image, let's not send the profile image and all. So this, let's try this one. So let's go to the UI and hit execute. See, this is saying it is unable to resolve service of type IOT service. Okay, so we just forgot to inject the to add the service to the pipeline. Okay, so let's add that. So IOT service, if someone asks for this, give this one. Okay, save that and let's restart the application once again and check if we are able to hit the endpoint, this one. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. See, we have already added the IOT service in the program.cs, but this auth service is requiring the user manager to be there to do its operations, like the register function is using user manager to check the current user and create a user. Okay, so this error says some services are not able to be constructed, okay, while attempting to activate the application services auth service, right? So when the system tried to activate the auth service, it could not find the user manager. See, okay, so for this we'll have to add and configure identity here in this pipeline, and we'll also do some changes to the Swagger Gen, the Swagger UI, so that it can accept a JWT token for logging in to the system. We'll implement, just as we implemented the register function here, we'll implement the login function. We'll have to implement the refresh token functionality, all those in the subsequent videos. Okay. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this video helpful and learned something, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button below. Your support means a lot to me. This encourages me to invest more time and create more valuable content for you. Remember to click the notification bell so you never miss an update on future videos. In the comment section below, please let me know what you learned from today's video. What was your favorite part? If you have any questions on today's topic or suggestions for future videos, feel free to drop them in the comments. I read and respond to as many comments as I can. To watch more videos on the same topic, check out the playlist or visit the channel. Thank you so much for your time. Keep learning.